I've always wanted my videos to be an extension of myself, my ideas, my beliefs, but most importantly, I've always wanted my videos to just be an extension of the people around me, my friends, the people that mold me, the people that continue to push the needle, and the people that make me want to pick up a camera and tell stories.
Torrey Van Winden.
This is my good friend Torrey Van Winden. Arguably one of the most highly decorated talents in the nation, playing both indoor and beach volleyball. From All-American honors to World Tour medals, Torrey has been able to excel at the highest level for years, but just listing accolades would be telling a false narrative. For the past year, she has been sidelined from the game with a very severe concussion injury. The road to recovery has been bumpy, to say the least, as Torrey is entering her final season of beach volleyball, ultimately hoping to lead Cal Poly back to the tournament and bring home a national championship. With past success comes expectations and pressure. And as a senior closing her final chapter in college, she knows that every moment counts. So sit back and watch as we dive into a week in the life of Torrey and continue to watch this story unfold in front of us. The weeks are extremely long for collegiate athletes. From practice to weights to school to more recovery, the days only get stretched out further and further. I decided to follow around Torrey from Monday through Friday to understand more of her day-to-day process in preparation for the match on Saturday evening, along with diving deeper into her story and mindset through it all. So we got kicked out.
Not allowed to film in there.
They saw me walk in there like, Sam is the most intimidating looking person ever.
Yeah, they were like, I don't have the paperwork to deal with this.
She actually does do therapy.
Yes, I do. I go to PT. It's called vestibular ocular therapy. Maybe I'll show you some my like laser focus later at home.
Did you interview right now?
Yeah.
You're gonna be stuck.
Do I look like a
Your mom.
amazing lank monster?
Yeah.
Just so bad. We're just working on really getting our chemistry together. I mean, like I said, it takes a while. A partnership is like a relationship, and you just have to really nurture it and build each like skill together as a team. Dude.
I thought you were coming out the other way. Dude, what?
This is my lunch. I'm so hungry.
Straight into
there goes a fifth of my lunch.
Straight into a midterm.
Straight into the midterm.
I'm definitely in a lot of place here. You can also just introduce yourself.
Okay.
But
I'm Torrey. I met Sam in a kinesiology class. I wasn't vibing with the people who I was sitting next to my first quarter. I just literally didn't even know that Sam and Caleb were like super close homies, and I sat right in between them, like took the seat in between them, and they were like, who is this girl? We're going to the chiropractor. This chiropractor is the person who discovered that my atlas was off by 7 degrees. And if you don't know, your atlas is like it's like the base of your skull. It's like what your whole skull sits on. That was a big part of my recovery, just finding out that basically like where my head sits on my head was like super off, which throws off your whole balance and your nervous system.
I remember back last spring in 2019, talking with my good friend Caleb about Torrey's recovery and how she was doing. I knew she was struggling and felt off ever since the concussion, but I thought like most injuries, things would just gradually get better. Although in this case, the symptoms only got worse. I started to see Torrey way less in class, and even outside of school. I realized how severe this injury was when Caleb and I got a text from Torrey saying that she had to take a leave of absence and go back home to Napa for the rest of spring quarter.
We'll just go through the backstory a little bit, because I got hit 2 practices before we left for the NCAA tournament. One of our 6'4" middles came through and hit a ball, I would guess 60 miles an hour, and I tried to dodge it, hit my face, got whiplash. I knew it was bad immediately right off the bat, but I didn't say anything. I went to class that night. I left class and started vomiting. That's when I knew that it was like, okay, this is a concussion, obviously, but like as an athlete, I think it's really important to note that like There's no athlete, especially in that situation, who's ever gonna admit to having some, like, you don't even admit it to yourself, let alone admitting it to a trainer. We got to the tournament and Sam Crossan, our head coach, made the decision at 11 p.m. day before game day. He woke me up knocking on my door, told me that the next morning I would see the USC head trainer and they would do a concussion protocol test, and I failed right off the bat. I couldn't even like keep my eyes closed and stand up.
It's about 9:20. I'm headed to the final practice before the game tomorrow. So they do like run-throughs, whatever. Yeah, and you're coming with us.
I mean, obviously after that day, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna prepare myself for beach season. Like it's winter break. I have 4 weeks to do, you know, to heal, to rest, to get better. And in those 4 weeks, I didn't feel great, but I didn't feel terrible. And when I came back, the athletic trainers were like, you still need to pass all of the concussion protocols since we haven't seen you since you got a concussion. And I was like, what do you mean? No, like I just took 4 weeks off. Obviously I'm fine. So we did the balance test and I failed it, I think 6 times. Same thing, I was in like the top 3 percentile of all athletes at Cal Poly initially, and then couldn't even get like a basic score. It's crazy because it never ever hit me that like this would be a year. It never hit me that like this was gonna be the rest of my life. I was gonna deal with headaches and stuff until I got diagnosed with PCS and I started doing more research about it, which wasn't until like 6 months after the injury. And so it's still pretty new to me. I still deal with the emotional effects of knowing that so much of what I once knew is just not coming back. And I just have to work with the fact that recovery isn't becoming who you were before, it's becoming somebody else, and it's working with what you have and it's being the best that you can with what you have.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel accomplished after serving probably 60 balls to get one in the right spot. Thanks,
Bye.
Sam.
Bye.
See ya.
As we get within 24 hours of game time, I realize that every player has a different pregame ritual. With Torrey's recent head injury, she's been able to experiment with different methods of recovery, one of them being float therapy. Essentially, you are put into a sensory deprivation tank full of Epsom salt water, ultimately reducing muscle soreness and recovery time, as well as reducing stress and anxiety levels, which is something that Torrey has struggled with recently.
New pregame ritual, but I think I dig it. Sam, how did you like your float?
Yeah, failed to mention that I'm also playing the game tomorrow and I needed a float too.
The Mustang Beach Volleyball Complex. Make some noise for your Mustang.
Put your hands together for Torrey Van Winden and Macy Gordon.
Like everyone feels gratitude after, like if you have a knee injury and you get back out there, like you realize that you took like walking for granted. For me, I took having emotional stability for granted. I know now that there's such a wide community of people who struggle with these things like every single day. That was so isolating to me at first because I didn't understand that other people had these feelings and these things that plague them, like a hidden opponent, really. Like it's just the hidden thing that like no one would ever see. Like walking around campus, no one would ever guess. My heart was going way too fast for what it was supposed to, just walking to class. It's a freaking grind. No one wants to wake up at 6 a.m. and lift heavy weights and have blaring music at you first thing in the morning and then go to a practice that's like super cardio intense, or people are just in pissed off moods or whatever. Like I remember dreading the grind day to day, and like post injury, it's just like if I hear someone complaining, I'm like, dude, I'm just so happy to be out here. Like, I'm still competitive, I'm still gonna win. Like, that's my main goal. But when I lose, it's not, I'm not punching things and almost breaking my hand, except for at Stanford. But I'm just so happy that I can jump in the air and not feel like I can actually feel my head or my brain like toggling inside of my head. Like, those are like the little wins for me day to day. And so I think that's just like gratitude and self-awareness for sure.